Matt Lucas, the owner of Core Fitness Camps and Training. And today we're going to do a little foam rolling, better known as self-myofascial release or compression. The benefits of this include it helps to stretch us out, it keeps our joints aligned, it detoxes our body, which is mostly water, and it also reduces our injury and it reduces soreness. I use my 3-foot foam roller 2 to 3 days a week and have done so for a number of years and have found it to be very helpful, and I hope you do also. So we're going to start today and we're going to use this foam roller. I'm going to start by sitting on the ground. I'm going to face you. I'm going to sit right on the middle, so I'm going to in effect straddle it. Now I can be as upright as you want to be, and I'm just going to work on each of my glutes here. Okay, so your glutes have a lot of nerve endings in them. Whether you are standing, you're sitting, you're walking up and down stairs, lifting things, etc., running, right? It's really important that we spend some time working on your glutes. So again, I can be as upright as I want to be, and I'd encourage you to spend anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds on each side. So again, I can do the other side. In this case, I'll turn sideways so you can see me here. Again, as upright as you want to be, and or leaning back as much as you would like. And again, you make a decision as to what is sore and what needs some attention. Okay? Good. So next, what I'm going to do, we're going to work a little chest and shoulders. And so what we're going to do is we're going to lay on top of the foam roller parallel to it. Okay? So my head is supported and is neutral. My spine and my lower back is supported. Right? So I'm parallel to my spine. And what I want you to do is just stay here and relax. Again, you can just look at the ceiling. And what I typically do is I bring my arms at a right angle. Now, what you'll notice is in most people's case, right, they are a little internally rotated, meaning my wrist is a little higher than my elbow, okay? Ideally, you're fairly parallel. But due to things like phones, computers, etc., we have a tendency to be a little bit more rounded. Now, the value of being on the foam roller here is because of that, right? It allows my hands, my arm weight to relax and stretch, and thus I get that stretch in the fronts of my shoulders and my chest, okay? So from here, again, and you might spend 15 to 30 seconds just here, relax, breathing, etc. From here, what I do is I do a shoulder press, and I'm going to have you do 3 to 4 repetitions. Again, your first objective is to get your arms straight. Your second objective is to have your fingertips touch the ground. Now I realize not everyone can do that, and if not, that's okay. And again, doing this sort of activity on the ground is fine. Doing it on the wall is fine. Doing it here on the foam roller obviously is going to exacerbate that stretch in your chest and shoulders. So reach up nice and tall. Again, do your best to keep your forearms parallel to the ground, down to your height. Again, that first objective is to have your arms straight. The second is to have your fingertips touch the floor. Okay? From here, then, what I'm going to have you do, you're going to do a snow angel. So, palms are up, okay? I'm retracting my shoulders, right? Squeezing them back, and I'm going to keep my fingertips, my hands in contact with the ground as long as I can. Now, for me, as someone who does this regularly, this is not that challenging. For many people, when you get to be about shoulder height and above, people's hands often come off the floor. And if that's the case, that's okay. Again, the objective is to keep your arms straight. If they can touch the ground, that's great. Again, what you're doing is elongating your arms, your torso, so you're getting mobility in your lats, your shoulder blades, those smaller muscles of your rotator cuff. So again, do this 3 to 4 times, okay? From here, what I will have you do is you're going to have your palms down, your hands are about hip width to shoulder width, and you're just going to do a pullover. So nice and tall, up over. Again, 3 to 4 times. The thing to remember with your shoulders, right, it's a ball and socket joint. It moves in multiple planes as opposed to your elbow or your knee, which is a hinge joint. So when we work on our mobility, we have to work on it in multiple planes, which is what we're doing here, okay? All right, then we're going to work on some internal and external rotation in 2 different areas, okay? So first, I'm going to have my arms bent at a right angle, okay? My palms are up. I'm going to do my best to keep my elbows in a fixed point, meaning they're not going to move this way. They're going to be here, and then I'm going to internally rotate there. Now again, with many of my clients, we do this sort of activity in different planes, on the wall, using bands, balls, etc. Here, we're using gravity to allow us to work on, again, both the mobility as well as a little strengthening of those smaller muscles, okay? We can also do internal and external rotation with a longer lever. So here my arms are straight. Again, focus on my thumb, right? Here I'm going to internally rotate and try to get my thumb to point down, whereas here I'm going to externally rotate to get it to point down, okay? So again, just nice and slow. And of course, because I'm on the foam roller, I am getting a stretch in the front of my chest and my shoulders, which is the real value of this, okay? So again, you've worked on that mobility in different planes using a couple different exercises, right? Now, to get up, do not, and I repeat, do not sit up. That creates a lot of compression on your vertebrae. The easier and safer way to get off of the foam roller in this position is just roll to the side. It's not as graceful, but safety is our number one concern, okay? All right, next, we're gonna move to our back, okay? So, I'm gonna put the foam roller this way, perpendicular to me. I'm gonna start about in the middle of my back. Again, I open up my arms so that it opens up my chest and shoulders a little bit more. It's your choice if you'd like to do that. From here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift my hips off the ground, and I'm gonna roll up to the point where, again, my elbow to elbow is in a pretty straight line about where the foam roller is. So a little lower than the base of your neck, okay? And from here, then, I'm just gonna roll up and down. And again, you may get a few cracks, a few pops, and that's okay, so long as it doesn't hurt. Again, sometimes what I'll also do is just put my head in my hands, just to kind of support my head, make it a little bit easier on my neck. And from here then, I'm just going to roll X number of times, okay, until then I'm going to rotate and face you. And now we're going to work on some of that connective tissue in our rib cage. So you think about all of the pushing and pulling exercises that we do, right? We're on two planes, front and back. However, all of that connective tissue has to be pliable in order for us to move. Now, in this particular case, in this exercise, for me, and for many, this one is a little bit more sensitive because there are less tissue, right? You're going to feel this in your rib cage, your ribs, right? But there's less muscle, there's less tissue, and therefore it's going to be a little bit more sensitive for many people. So what I'm going to have you do, again, my elbow is over the foam roller and on the ground. I'm going to rotate. So right now my arm is up at the ceiling, and that's really representing my shoulder. And what I'm going to do is just roll forward. And so where you're going to roll, right, is into that rib cage. Now for women this is a little bit different based on anatomy, but either way I want you to go to a point of comfort here. If you feel a spot that's a little discomfort, or you have a little discomfort, that's okay. As you continue to do this, this will get a little bit easier and easier. And as I do this, as you notice, we started lower. The foam roller works its way up into more of your armpit. So you get some of those muscles in and around your subscap, your teres of your rotator cuff. Now again, on the back side there, that can be pretty sensitive and tender. So be a little careful on how that feels. If it's pretty sensitive and tender, that's okay. Again, you can always use your body to lift yourself up. In my case, because I've done this for quite a long time, right, I actually even add a little roll to this. Now that's a little more advanced because again, more of your body weight is pushing down. For those people who haven't done that as frequently, be a little bit more conservative here, okay? So same thing. Now I'll do the other side. Again, start in the middle, and I'm just going to roll forward. And again, I can make this harder by taking my top arm off, because again, now all my body weight is laying on the roller, with the exception of my hips and lower. So you decide the degree of compression you have, okay? And again, for many people, myself included, this is pretty sensitive because there's not a lot of tissue there. There's not a lot of muscle, but that interconnective tissue is really, really critical and allows us to kind of move and feel our best, all right? All right, so then we're gonna get into our lower back, and this is one of my favorite groups. As someone who has some lower back issues, lumbar issues, this will help with both mobility. It's gonna work on our hamstrings, our hip flexors, and our groin, okay? So, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna lay down. I'm gonna put that foam roller underneath on my lower back, give or take around your waistband. Again, one of the reasons I like the 3-foot foam roller is because it allows more options. So in this case, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hang on to it so it doesn't go anywhere. Now, I can start by just alternating my legs, almost like you're marching in place. Again, I can go up at different angles. Okay, just there to there. Then I can go two-legged. And from a two-legged position, right, I can rotate. So you get some rotational mobility in that low back, your low back and hips. And again, I'm just going to rotate. And again, you may notice if you do this 2-3 times, hey, the first time I'm really kind of stiff. Particularly if you do so in the morning, or if you've sat a lot in the day, if you had a long car ride, whatever it might be. But hopefully by the end of this, you feel noticeably looser. Okay? And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my feet back on the ground. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my legs straight up in the air. Okay? Both legs. So again, you can see where that foam roller is on my body. Okay? It's going to create kind of a natural, almost like a pelvic tilt. So when I rotate my legs down, it creates a pelvic tilt on my hips, and thus it takes all of the stress off of my low back, your SI joint, your sacroiliac joint, which for someone who has lower back issues, this feels quite good, okay? So now, with my legs straight up above, we're gonna do a little hamstring here first. And what I want you to do is, you're gonna flex your foot, and then you're gonna bring one foot towards you, as if, again, you don't need to touch, but as if you're gonna touch your hand to your foot. And you're not moving that far, but what you're getting is a stretch in your hamstring and in your calf. And this should feel very noticeable, even though it's not a great range of motion, okay? So you can do that 3-4 times. From here then, what I'm gonna have you do is, you're gonna let your legs go out wide, okay? So this now is gonna get your groin or your adductors, okay? This is your natural gait. For some people, particularly for men, you might be much higher, meaning you're not that flexible there. And for many people, that's the case based on how much or how little they actually work on flexibility, mobility, and strength in these areas. Now in my case, you'll notice I'm kind of also rotating. So when I do this, I can feel this both in my hips and then a little bit more in my groin. I can also, right, kind of bounce my legs. This shows me this is what my natural gait is. Again, if I was way up here and doing it, that's as far as it is there. I have a little bit more because I do this on a regular basis, okay? From here now, I'm gonna go all the way back up. And now we're going to do a little hip flexor. I'm going to keep one leg stationary, let the other one go all the way long, and I'm going to get my hip flexor. Again, because we sit so much, hamstrings and hip flexors have a tendency to be two of our tighter muscle groups. So keeping one leg straight, I can feel this a little bit in my hamstring. Keeping my other legs pretty straight, I can feel it in my hip flexor because the foam roller is underneath me, right? It creates an angle that forces me to have to go a little longer, and thus I feel that stretch right there. So again, you're going to do each of those 3. Now, in my case, what I do is I do that in three different heights. So one time I do it higher than I prefer, one time right where I prefer, and then one time a little lower. So in this position, I'll just go through these real quick so you can see from this angle. Again, I'm going to be tall. I'm going to go out wide. Again, you can see how my legs bounce. That's my natural gait. Then I'm here, and then I'm going to go all the way down straight. Okay? So I'm just there to there. And again, the more you do this, kind of the easier it gets, and I think the more you'll like it. Okay? All right. Then we are going to do a little bit of lower back. Now you do need to be careful on the lower back, right? Because your lower back is curved, has natural curvature to it. I do this one, but I don't always recommend it with people based on age, based on their mobility, etc. So this is going to work in a similar fashion to what we did in the mid and upper back, right? Which is to say, again, I kind of put my hands underneath my hips, and now I'm just going to roll kind of the small of my back to here. So again, you got to be a little careful based on what your back is like. If this is sensitive or tender, right, you can just sit here, and now, right, I can add in a little hyperextension. Right, so here I'm a little lower on my back, so it's going to be a little harder. If I move it up, then I'm getting from the foam roller and above. And again, I can angle, etc. So you get a little hyperextension in here, which is a good thing as well. Okay? Again, in part because so much of us are spent at desks, on technology, we sleep on our side, and thus your hip flexors, hamstrings are tight, you're rounded in your chest and shoulders. Everything is in front of us. So doing some of these things will actually help to kind of get us back to more of a neutral position, and thus hopefully alleviate some imbalances that we have, okay? All right, next, we are going to do some hip flexors, okay? So, what I'm gonna have you do, I'm gonna offset the foam roller. So in this case, I'm gonna start with my left side, okay? So my body's position, I'm on one knee, and ultimately I'm gonna lay down on the foam roller, okay? Now I want my hip flexor to end up right on that edge of that foam roller. And even though your hip flexor is a fairly small area, what I tell all of the people that I work with is, I want you to take your hand and put it about where your hip flexor is, okay? It's the size of kind of a small plate. That's the area that we're actually going to work. So even though it seems like a small area, we're going to go up and down, left and right. So you're going to get a larger area, which is going to encompass maybe your pubic bone. It's going to encapsulate your psoas muscles in your abdomen, as well as your hip flexor, which has an artery that runs there. And when you roll over an artery, what happens is the blood displaces. And thus what this is going to feel like is perhaps like you wet your pants. You're going to feel that blood move, and thus what it's going to do is allow it to feel a little bit better and allow it to loosen up, because all of a sudden that blood is moving, right? In the same way that when we exercise, that's why we warm up. So the blood moves, hey, I feel looser. It's the same concept. So what you're going to do in this case, again, I'm doing my left side. So I put my left hip flexor on, my left elbow, and my right hand. And what that is going to do is create an angle of my shoulders and my hips. So my right hip is higher than my left, and thus I lean into the foam roller. And now from here, again, my right knee is on, which just holds the foam roller in place. My left leg is straight, and I'm going to use my right hand, my left elbow, and my foot to just roll. Okay? So I'm just right in here. I'm going to get on that, right on that edge. And again, I can move in, I can move out, and I'm obviously rolling up and down. So as I turn forward and I do this, again, I'll do the same side to make it easy. Okay? So I'm going to be here, left elbow, right knee, right hand. So you can see the angle that I have. That creates an angle on my hip flexor into that foam roller. And now from here, again, I'm just going to roll. Now again, for many people, this is going to be pretty sensitive. One of the reasons that I like this a lot is because it's quite effective. So you feel it right away. And if you're a person that sits a lot and you have tight hip flexors, this really allows you to work on that to get some blood flow and thus allow you to feel a little bit better. Okay? So from here now, we are going to do a little bit of quads. Okay? I'm going to start on the side and we're going to do our adductors. Okay? So the inside of our thigh. Okay? So I'm going to be right here. Again, my right elbow, left leg. My left leg is bent currently. I can externally rotate my foot. So again, I'm getting my adductors, then inside of your thigh, your groin ultimately. And again, you decide how high and how low you get on each side. Okay, so again, do both legs. I will turn around and do this side. So you can see it from this angle. Again, I'm just right here. And you take however much time you think you need. If that's probably 15 to 30 seconds in most cases. By the end of that, I should feel a little bit better. Okay? Then, all right, I'm going to have you go on your hands and knees. And now we're going to do our quads. Okay? So, I'm going to stay here. You're going to be in kind of a plank position. Okay? Again, I can externally rotate my feet to get the inside of my legs. I can point my toes down. Again, if this is really intense, which it might be for many people, again, put your toes on the ground, right? My elbows are on the ground. Put your hands on the ground. Lift yourself up. If this is not as intense, right, I can go down to one leg. Now I'm getting closer to my IT band, right? Again, with one leg, obviously I've got all of my body's weight on my thigh. So you make a judgment as to what's needed for you, okay? We've got a couple things left. So, first I'm going to go here. We're going to do a little back, okay? And what I want you to do is put your hands on the foam roller. You're going to do a little cat-cow, okay? So you'll notice right now my back is quite arched. And now I'm going to arch up. So I'm going to get between my shoulder blades and then my low back lumbar. So I'm alternating between the two. With all of my clients, we do this often as we warm up, right? We do some cat-cow, we do thoracic rotation, etc., okay? From here, what we can also do, right, put your hands on the foam roller, and I want you just to roll out forward. It's a nice long lever. So again, you're going to feel that in your lats, you're going to feel that in your obliques, your shoulders, your upper back. It should feel good, okay? All right, and then the last pieces we're going to end with, we're going to do some posterior chain on the back side. So we did glutes to start. Now we're going to do glutes in a different way. So again, now the foam roller is perpendicular to me. Again, I can be as upright as I want. I can be as angled as I want, both back or facing, right? I can put my hand on the ground, cross my leg, and so now you're getting a different angle on that glute. So again, you decide where it is you want to be based on how you're feeling. And again, same thing, always do both sides, directions, so on and so forth, and you spend however long you need to. For most muscle groups, I would say probably 15 to 30 seconds, okay? All right, then we're gonna do a little hamstrings next. The hamstrings are a little harder to get based on angles, okay? So again, depending on our arm length, right, I don't have a lot of leverage. Now, you could use, if you have yoga blocks or something to lift you up a little taller, and that's fine. I just kind of go into a knuckle. Again, I'm going two-legged currently. I can externally rotate my feet, internally rotate. I can go down to one leg, etc. So just nice and easy. Again, you're getting that compression on a longer lever, on a longer muscle. The same thing is true for your calves. Now, the way that I do my calves, I kind of split them into thirds. And I do the top of my one leg, the top of my other, and then once I've done that, I move it into the middle, and I do the middle third of one leg, the middle third of the other, and then lastly, I do kind of the bottom, which is towards your soleus, which is the muscle that connects to your Achilles tendon. So I think what you'll find by doing some foam rolling on a regular basis is it allows you, again, to be stretched out. It can get rid of toxins in your body. It allows you to reduce soreness and reduce the chance of injury. So I hope you give it a try. Let me know if you have any questions.